tell me about the general genesis of your project and what is it about, your latest movie?
Oh god, it's so funny. I've been asked that question so many times and I always hate answering it. It's basically, so it's about this young conceptual artist who's living in New York, who's like part of the whole scene there, and she's originally Middle Eastern, and so we really see how the political situation affects, with the war on terror and what's going on in the Middle East, it affects her and her friends while they're assimilating within New York in a very, not in a forced way, but in a very easy way, because that's where they've been living and they were brought up in Europe or elsewhere, so they're very confident in any kind of surrounding. Because I feel like a lot of these films about Middle Easterners, and it's true because for some people that is the case, they always choose, these like, an immigrant girl who doesn't know whether she should cover up or not, and like, should she work in her father's kebab shop, and all these kind of stereotypes, which is, I have no problem with that. It happens, but I also think it's really interesting to show other things. There's like, I don't know, 300 million or more Arabs, and there's many different stratas. And for me, being someone who is born in London but comes from originally the Middle East and from Bosnia Herzegovina, so I lived in New York for 10 years. It's more interesting for me to deal with people who come from a place of strength within that society, and how these kind of crazy political times affect their lives.
So the story came a little bit from your experience?
It's really embarrassing. It's completely, it's pretty much, from my experience, because I was there after 9/11, and I hate to do the whole like 9/11 talk, but it was really scary being there, like especially the month afterwards, because it was so uncertain what the policy was. And friends of mine who didn't have European or American passports couldn't leave because they were told if they left they would be interrogated. Or you could leave, but you would have to leave like flying first class, because they're nicer to you if you fly first class than if you fly economy. Can you believe it? Like, no one believes these stories, but it's so true that so that's probably the one time it's worth paying for a first class ticket. It's just all these stories which were just really scary about people being taken and interrogated, and it doesn't make much sense. No one, I think what my film really ultimately is about is people just don't believe this stuff, because they're like, oh no, it doesn't really happen. In Eastern Europe, it's really interesting, because I feel that because you had like such a totalitarian regime before, people are just like, it's part of their psyche, so they do understand about these things. But I feel like the dangerous thing about England and the US and not France is pretty on it, but they sometimes, they're like in denial completely that like governments and espionage systems are in place, and that there's one reality, and then there's this espionage reality, and then there's the political policy reality, and all these things are hidden from us, but they exist, and we should be aware of that. And people are like, oh, don't be silly, that's like a Bond movie. I'm like, well, Bond is based on something. And then you sound like a crazy paranoid person, because you're like, oh no, but it's true, like phone calls are monitored, people listen in, and it's just normal. You should be aware of that and not pretend it doesn't exist, Yeah.
And the last question will be, what means for you to show your film in front of Polish audience on this Warsaw Film Festival?
It's great. They laughed more at all my really hard political jokes. They were like getting everything. Like they, once they realized they could laugh, because they were a bit awkward at the beginning.
Didn't expect it.
They didn't expect it. They didn't know. Like, this is like, you could tell they were kind of laughing, but they didn't let go. And then suddenly they just like let go, which was nice. But it's great because they seem to be very educated, and they asked very good questions, and I was just really, I think it was one of my best Q&As actually.
Oh,
like
that's nice.
They're really clever crowds who came last night.
Nice to hear, yeah.
Yeah,
We have a clever audience on this festival.
Yeah, exactly. I got a really clever audience. I was very
It's the best
excited.
festival in Poland, so
Exactly. No, but I'm not joking, but I was very excited because there's such a high level of education in this part of the world. I was really excited to show it in Eastern Europe, and also there's an understanding of cinema, which is quite high level compared to America and other places. So it was really nice. It's like I feel like I was showing it more in their language. It's almost like because of the way that I make films and the films that I've been influenced by. I feel like it was a nice audience because I'm also communicating in a language they can understand easily, you know, so that was really nice.
Okay, thank you very much and wish you good luck with your movie and next projects. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, I can talk for hours, so.
Yeah, I know, but unfortunately,
No, I know, yeah.
But